Aloha, we are convening the House Committee on Finance for our 2 p.m. agenda here in room 308. It is Monday, February 23rd, 2026, and we're gonna get right into it with HB 1602, HD1, relating to agriculture.
First, we have the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity in support.
Chair Todd, Vice Chair Takenouchi, members of the committee, Sharon Hurd, Department of Agriculture. We stand in strong support of our submitted testimony and are available for questions.
Thank you.
We have the Hawaii Food Industry Association on Zoom in support. Not present. Local Food Coalition in support. Not present. Ulupono Initiative in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Micah Munekata here on behalf of Ulupono Initiative. We'll send out our testimony in strong support. Just a few couple comments here just to highlight the strength of having someone within the Department of Ag that's really dedicated to going after these grant funds and why it's important for the state. Even in these tough times, in these tough economic times and the uncertainties that exist within our federal government, we've had someone within the Department of Ag that's been dedicated to finding resources even in this environment. And she secured almost $9 million in this past year, which is, it's roughly 90 times the return on investment for state money to just fund this position. And this particular grant writer within the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity is also going after $54 million more in grants that are out there. So it's really important that we have someone that's dedicated to going after these funds because this historically has been money untapped. So hopefully the burden will be a little bit less on you folks at the legislature to fund a lot of these ag initiatives fully when we can kind of seek out some of these federal funds that are available for the state of Hawaii. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. That's everybody who identified that they would be joining us in person today. We also have support from 9 other organizations and 5 individuals. Is anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Okay, members, do you have any questions on HB 1602? Okay, Caparcio?
Thank you, Chair, for Department of Agriculture. Thank you for your testimony. I did hear the testimony from the Ulupono Initiative as to some of the amounts that the state could benefit from. My question is more specific as to the number of grants. How many, to the best of your knowledge, how many grants are available and how many grants were, let me rephrase that. How many grants were available last fiscal year and how many grants were applied for?
Okay, just roughly.
Roughly.
Okay, last year I would guess that maybe there were 40, of which I'm gonna say about 30 were retracted, expired, denied, even though we applied for that, they were terminated. However, with the new farm bill that was just posted, I think 2 days ago, maybe Friday, the word reauthorized appeared many, many times. And that's gonna make make us all very happy that the Farm Bill through the Senate Appropriations and Committee, they are reauthorizing a lot of the grants that were terminated. So I'm gonna guess that, of course, it's still going through the process, but maybe there's at least 10 that the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity were looking at that were taken off the board that are now, the word reauthorized is appearing next to them. So let's say really good chance for 10 new.
Thank you. And I appreciate the work of grant writers. And so perhaps if those viewing and other people who are here, if you could just give an estimate as to how much actual time is spent in completing your typical grant.
It's gonna be maybe 100 hours per grant. The work of researching is important, but what our grant writer is doing right now is she's working with what we call shelf items. If she comes up with a project, she's doing the research, kind of putting the skeleton together and putting it on the shelf. You know, working with other people, and the need is for management. So when you get the grant, now you have to implement it. So what she does is she puts a lot of positioning into the grant. So for the grant that Ulupona mentioned, the 8.89 million grant, she has two positions. One is for the actual administrator of the grant to help her with the management, and a part-timer. So that's how we're trying to position our grants, that 100 hours worth of work to get it, and then once you get it, maybe 1,000 hours of work.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Great, no problem, thank you. Members, any additional questions on this measure? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on to HB 1832 relating to aquaculture.
Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity in support.
Thank you. DAB stands in support of this measure. Here for any questions. Mahalo.
Thank you. Department of Land and Natural Resources in support.
Aloha Chair Brian Nielsen, Administrator for Division of Aquatic Resources. We stand on our written testimony and support available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau in support.
The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
Thank you. That's everybody who identified that they will be joining us. Also testimony and support from Hawaii Sustainable Fisheries, Prepper Maya Foundation, Hawaii Aquaculture and Aquaponics Association, as well as 2 individuals in support and 1 individual opposed. Is there anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Okay, members, any questions on this measure? Seeing none, moving on to the next item on our agenda, HB 1707 HD1 relating to agriculture.
Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity in support.
Thank you. DAB stands on its written testimony offering support. Here for any questions.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau in support.
The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
Thank you. Chamber of Commerce Hawaii in support.
Aloha, the Chamber of Commerce Hawaii stands on its written testimony in support. Mahalo.
Thank you. Hawaii Food Industry Association in support on Zoom. Not present. Local Food Coalition in support. Not present. That's everybody who identified that they would be joining us today. Also 11 other organizations in support, as well as 8 individuals in support and 1 with comments. Anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Members, any questions on this measure?
Yes, please, Chair.
Yeah, Rep.
For Farm Bureau, there was a comment about a definition for necessary supplies. And the definition being includes chemicals, feed, fertilizer, fuel, seeds, plant supplies, equipment parts, and other inputs as determined by the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. Is this all encompassing now?
Thank you, Representative. Brian Yamamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau. Yes, we did see the Farmers Union's testimony, and it's pretty broad. It basically covers, I think previously we just used inputs, and that seems to be what it's driving at. In the past, some of these subsidy programs were just for the raw commodity. So we appreciate the legislature looking at other costs for our farmers and ranchers to help with their transportation costs, ultimately reduce their production costs, which hopefully will reduce the cost of food. So yes, we saw the testimony, and it's pretty broad, covers essentially everything that we believe would be under the definition of inputs.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Chair.
Members, anything else? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to the next item, HB 2155 HD1 relating to agricultural statistics.
Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity in support.
Thank you. DAB stands on its written testimony in support. Mahalo.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau in support.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
And Local Food Coalition in support. Still not present. Alright, we also received, that's everyone who identified themselves as being present. Also University of Hawaii with comments, 5 other organizations in support, 2 individuals in support, and 1 providing comments. If any of them are here who would like to start, please. Please just identify yourself for the record.
Director, my name's Russell Homa with Paytech Hawaii, Executive Director, the author of the blueprint. I do support the measure on the bill, but I do have reservation, as you know, that about 3 weeks ago, so that President Donald Trump passed an executive order of aiding American farmers of $12 billion, including fertilizer, new research and development, any matters that can, I know there's a category which items that can be justifiable getting those funding. But I know that most of the red states gonna most likely get the funding for that, like in American heartlands like Midwest, Mid-South. But for us, California, Oregon, and Washington, Hawaii, we're the blue states. And we distribute so much agriculture, I would say more than 60% of our domestic demand in agriculture food does come from the West Coast states. So in other words, we should be entitled for those $12 billion. So I just wanna make sure the statistics that the agriculture department is coming up with has a detail that meets the requirements, which categories, and we should make sure we lobby Washington DC with the US Ag Department and Congress, so make sure that Hawaii should get piece of the pie. And we should kind of work it out with the blue states, and hopefully we can get something out of this and help our local farmers here for domestic demand purposes. And they can use that money for startups, new entrepreneurial, the existing farmers can buy new equipment, new machinery, buy new fertilizer, help their agriculture infrastructure themselves, so all the above. So I think the statistics or data that we're gonna collect should categorize accordingly. That's my suggestion. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Okay, Rep. Kush, you have a question?
Yes, please. Is anybody from CTAR? No? How about Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity?
Representative Sharon Hurd, Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Thank you. I noticed in CTAR's testimony, they talked about spooling up a statistical unit within CTAR and that they had discussions with you. And I just was wondering if you can illuminate, is there any differentiation between these positions and what they are spooling up?
Our discussions were basically what they're doing versus what we're doing. We're pretty much collecting the data that is on the field, the farm. And I believe they're collecting the data that's more scientific. Did it rain today? Is how much, what did you apply? The field, what do they call it? Applied field research versus ours is we're collecting the actual production data. That would be the difference. We're absolutely gonna collect the import and export data. That's the kind of data that we're looking at for farmer decisions. That is not their purview.
Okay, so they are distinct from each other.
Yes, sir.
And maybe complementary.
And we'll work together to make sure that we collaborate and the data does rely on the other. And we can use and work together on it, but we won't duplicate.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Chair.
All right, members, anything else?
Sorry,
Rep.
Chair,
Hartsfield?
I do have a question, or you can say that, thank you. The bill proposes appropriations for the development of an electronic data collection system. Can you share your thoughts as to?
Sure. The back in the day, in 2008, we had three staff, two of which had clipboards. And they would go to Young Brothers and to a little cargo and they would collect the incoming data. We don't need to do that anymore. We now have a system called Kupono. In the past, it was Invicta, now we have Kupono, where airlines have to, after 9/11 actually, airlines have to, they call it the AMS, the Airport Manifest, Automated Manifest System, where before the plane lands, they have to declare what's on board. And so with this electronic manifest system, we know what's on board beforehand, so we can actually do a risk assessment. We know that strawberries is high risk. We know basically anything that touches the ground, the dirt, is probably high risk. fruits and vegetables, not so fruits, but if you have strawberries and green onions and mushrooms, things that actually touch the ground, we can identify these and then go out and specify which ones are higher risk. So yes, we wanna invest in a system that is tied into maybe another, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. But we do have a system that we can work off of. It's the called the Kupono system by Salesforce. So does that answer your question?
Sort of, yeah, I was just wondering, like, I mean, ideally, if you had additional funding, what kind of system did you have in mind?
Okay, the enhancing the Kupono system to tie into the automated manifest system as much as we can, cause it's confidential. So that upgrade, we might even be able to tie in a GIS system that they have now. We have a GIS program manager who is very familiar with the kinds of software out there and how we can use that technology to enhance what we do. So we don't have to go around and clipboard it, and say, what did you bring in today and on and particularly Representative, what we're interested in is inter-island movement. Like if I'm growing cucumbers, how many cucumbers are we sending to where? So that maybe I can grow the cucumbers on that island and I don't have to transport it. So that's the kind of information the farmers are waiting for so that they can make planting decisions. And I think we can, with the right software, with AI that we have today, I think we can make the investment and really help our farmers with the data that they need.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Members, anything else? Okay, seeing nothing else, we're gonna be moving on to HB 1831, HD1, relating to agricultural lands.
First, Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity in support.
Thank you. That stands on its written testimony. Here for any questions.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau in support.
Hawaii Farm Bureau stand on its written testimony in support.
Thank you. That's everybody who identified they'd be joining us. Also Hawaii Cattlemen's Council in support and 3 individuals. Is there anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Okay, members of the committee, any questions? Seeing nothing, we're gonna move on to the next item, HB 1650 HD1, relating to environmental assessments.
We have Mary Alice Evans in support. Sorry about that, thank you. And we have Greg Masakian in opposition on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I am in strong opposition to this bill, and I would like to state that I am providing testimony as an individual, but I do currently serve as president of the Kukua Council, vice president of the Hawaii Alliance for Retired Americans. I am a former Waikiki Neighborhood Board member from January 2023 to June of 2025, and I am a member of the Good Government Caucus. I was actually at the state capitol earlier today. I came home to testify by Zoom. And this bill is not good government. And what I wrote in my testimony, and I'll just paraphrase, is basically that the special district, the environmental laws that were put in place were done with careful consideration. And this is taking away the rights of the Hawaii residents over time that have provided input to put those laws into place. So I would strongly oppose this bill. I would ask that the committee vote against it. Mahalo.
Thank you. That's everybody who indicated they'd be joining us. Also, we have 3 organizations in support, 2 in opposition, and 1 with comments, as well as 2 additional individuals in opposition. Is there anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Okay, members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, before we move to the next item on our agenda, which is HB 1652, just as a quick heads up, we will not be doing decision making on this measure today. So we'll be hearing it today, but deferring decision making to it today. Likely Wednesday afternoon, but I'll announce that during our decision making process. Okay, we're on to HB 1652 HD1 relating to stormwater management systems.
We have the Hawaii Farm Bureau in support.
Hawaii Farm Bureau stand on its written testimony in support.
Thank you. We have the American Council of Engineering Companies of Hawaii in support.
Good afternoon. I represent the American Council of Engineering Companies of Hawaii. I am serving as the president. My name is Charles Jury. We've submitted written testimony in support of this measure. I did want to, if we could, have the opportunity just to clarify some of the things within our testimony. The primary focus of ACECH on the proposed clarifications to Act 281, which is included in this bill, is in regards to what's being defined as low-risk green stormwater infrastructure. The idea being that, that wasn't intended to be part of or defined as a detention pond or retention pond. That was our thought. Green stormwater infrastructure consists of basically nature-based ways of managing stormwater. And it's essentially mimicking the natural process such as infiltration, evaporation. And it also removes pollutants from our stormwater, so it improves water quality. This is all done before it enters our storm drainage system and is discharged into things like streams, oceans, etc. These solutions include things that are being clarified, include rain gardens, bioswales, permeable pavements, things that are being used in the state, things that are being encouraged to be used. These are designed to temporarily store water, though it is in a shallow form and it's in a controlled environment. These are often placed throughout the development. So essentially, throughout the development, we're intercepting storm water at different areas as opposed to pushing it all down to, say, a large detention pond or retention pond. These also help to reduce the peak flows that come down, helps to reduce the flooded areas within the development. And so, really the reason why ACECH is seeking clarification that green stormwater infrastructure is not included in the definition of detention and retention ponds is because of the safety requirements that were enacted as part of Act 281. Things such as fully enclosed fencing. And that we think would discourage the use of green infrastructure because these are things like, usually it's in open spaces. It's a rain garden in open space. There's initiatives right now where individuals, homeowners are putting rain gardens in their front yard. And maybe the most common, kind of most visible use case would be in new parking lots, that grass strip between parking stalls. So if those needed to be fenced off, it would really discourage the use of those. We would lose the environmental benefits of that and really kind of shift it back to the old way of just pushing all the water to a large detention base anyways. And so that was just some additional clarifications to the written testimony that we had. Will be available for questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Allison Schaefer's in opposition.
Yes, I would to testify. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in strong opposition to House Bill 1652. My name is Allison Schaefer's, and Act 281, Sharkey's Law, is named for my daughter. Sharkey drowned in a so-called low-impact dry detention basin that became a hidden lake due to an 89% clogged pipe, something Hutt Construction and the U.S. Navy knew about and failed to fix. She saved her friend but couldn't climb out. Even the lifeguard who recovered her body needed help. There was no fence, no signage, no ring buoy, and no maintenance plan. Sharkey's Law added these basic protections in a state where drowning is the leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 15. The argument that fencing makes GSI too expensive simply isn't supported. Detention and retention ponds require large footprints that cut into profits. A national review of 479 GSI projects found 75% were cheaper or cost neutral compared to gray infrastructure. Econo Northwest also found stormwater requirements, including GSI, do not deter development because stormwater costs are minor compared to larger economic forces. Many companies even pursue more expensive LEED certification because it benefits the environment and their reputation. Fencing is already standard for agricultural ponds where drownings make up 11% of injury-related agricultural deaths. These ponds are especially dangerous for autistic children who face 160 times higher drowning risk. Farmers even receive USDA cost share funding for fencing. What is expensive is drowning. At a national water safety conference, an attorney beside me had just secured a $15.5 million settlement for a 3-year-old who drowned in an unfenced detention pond. And the idea that not many children drown in stormwater features is false. Between 2004 and 2020, 265 children nationwide drowned in retention ponds, an undercount because detention ponds weren't included. In Hawaii, each drowning averages nearly 11 million in costs according to CDC estimates. The 40 drownings in 2023 total $437 million. And the human cost is immeasurable. If the Council of Engineering Companies of Hawaii gets its way, developers will save a few $1,000s on fencing and the public will shoulder multi-million-dollar settlements. Shifting the burden from developers to grieving families and to taxpayers and insurance companies is not fiscally responsible. If the state weakens Act 281 and a child dies, it will share in the liability. HB 1652's broad language, especially including but not limited to, creates loopholes. Developers could label anything GSI to avoid 281's protections. Its 18-inch, 48-hour ponding threshold is dangerous. A child can drown in less than 2 inches of water, according to the National Drowning Prevention Alliance. 18 inches is a bathtub-deep public hazard, and 88% of drownings happen in the presence of an adult, so supervision alone is not enough to protect against unfenced areas. Fencing does not discourage GSI, it prevents funerals. For the safety of Hawaii's families, I urge you to reject House Bill 1652. It's also the most financially prudent choice. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Gregory Masakian in opposition on Zoom.
Aloha again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Greg Masakian, and I strongly oppose this measure. I do understand the intent, but I also understand that lives are much more important than some nominal cost that a developer may have to do something. With that said, I do understand that there may be some elements of certain things that may need to be looked at more carefully, but it's not within this bill. I think that's in the future. I don't think this bill, the way it's written, addresses any of what the first person that testified was talking about. But I would strongly urge you to oppose this and not move it along. Mahalo.
Thank you. That's everyone who identified that they'd be with us today. We also have 2 other organizations.
I oppose the bill. My name is Anthony Gallo, Ever Beach. I can't say much more than what Allison said. But the reason why I oppose the bill, because it strips a previous bill that has been passed of the most important factor of that bill, which is safety by eliminating fences. The other thing that I've noticed is the water catchment systems, particularly along Roosevelt Avenue in Kapolei. There's a big trench that goes along the development. You'd need to be a rock climber if you fell into that culvert to get out. She just mentioned that her daughter needed a lifeguard to pull her body out of the water catchment. So these things need to be protected by fencing. And the other situation is by stripping the previous bill, your liability issue goes quite up if there is ever a tragedy of another drowning. For the simple reason that you said we're gonna put fencing and now you're rescinding on it, okay? She brought up the fact that in Florida, a $15 million lawsuit was brought up. So you're in jeopardy if you don't do something regarding keeping the bill 281 intact and rejecting this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, also 2 other organizations and 2 individuals in support, 7 organizations and 22 individuals in opposition. Anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Okay, members, do you have any questions on this measure? Seeing none, oh, sorry, Representative Soda, go ahead.
Am I able to ask Hawaii Farm Bureau a question? Thank you. So your testimony relies on design intent to classify infrastructure as low risk. What evidence can you provide that these systems always function as designed, especially during storms, clogging, that might give them clogging or maintenance issues?
Thank you, Representative Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau. I'm not sure if that's what our testimony is truly saying. We're first of all, that was a tragedy. Anytime there is a loss of life is a tragedy. I think our testimony in support is essentially exempting agriculture infrastructure, ponds, reservoirs, even irrigation, because they're not normally open to the public. They add an extra level of regulation, the fencing, the signs, even for livestock watering. And so with the broad nature of what it's asking for, we're not sure if that was the original intent of Sharkey's Law. Because again, most of our agriculture infrastructure was changed. Originally the bill said agricultural ponds. So that was changed in the previous committee to agriculture infrastructure, I think to better describe the water infrastructure that we have for agriculture, which I think what the bill was trying to address to exclude from these requirements.
So the regulation part is gonna deal with, I guess, money, the cost. That's gonna include. Can you describe how the Act 281, the current regulations, how that's gonna be a financial or operational burden? Can you give me some potential cost numbers on that? So.
Thank you, Representative. I don't know what the exact cost, we'd have to find out depending on what that water source is. Again, is it a reservoir? Is it Waiholey running through, Waiholey ditch running through your property? Now you have to fence that. So again, it ranges. In agriculture, you have different water systems. You have some that are just smaller retention ponds, and again, our testimony is that they don't serve as a water treatment. Right, it's again, it's agricultural water on agricultural land that is, for the most part, either private or public lands that's not open to the public. So fencing, it just depends how much water that you actually have to fence, how much signs you're gonna have to put in, and the lock gates and all the other things. In a previous testimony, we said we believe some of the farmers and ranchers are probably already doing this if they deem it as a risk. But again, we don't have a grasp on exactly how much water every single agricultural producer has in the state of Hawaii. But if this passed, they would be, we believe, required, regardless of the size of whatever water system it is, that they would have to put the 4-foot fence up, would have to put the gate, and then would have to put the signage. So that's where our testimony in support of not including, which we don't know if that was the original intent of Sharkey's Law to include agriculture, water infrastructure.
So in that case, since you're saying it's agriculture and it's not meant to have people on there, are you saying that the risk is zero? That somebody will drown, kid or not, adult or whoever, that anybody can drown in that pond or GSI or that water feature?
Absolutely not. We would never say that the risk is zero. There's always an inherent risk. It's just that there aren't many instances where there are, especially children, unaccompanied on agricultural lands. There's no way we would say the risk is zero. The risk is not zero.
Okay, cause the only reason why I was asking about the cost, per water infrastructure feature, was I wanted to compare that with the cost of one drown. Like how much if, I think in Ms. Schaefer's testimony, I think she said that the cost of one drowning was estimated by the CDC, sorry, I have too many papers up here, as like $10 million. Then go to look at what kind of fencing and signage would it take to cover $10 million just for one drowning? And so, looking at that, and that's just the dollar amount, not the human cost. Yeah, I would guess I would have to ask somebody. You wouldn't have a range, right? Even a small water infrastructure versus the big one, do you have any dollar amount range? How much that would cost?
The last fencing estimates that we did, I think we came about $21 to $30 a foot. And again, when we're talking about sizes of different water systems, I don't know. We would have to take a survey on everybody's water system. it's a tragic loss. I wouldn't even make a comparison on I wouldn't even put a dollar amount on there. Understand it, but again, when we're talking about agricultural water infrastructure, we believe that the risk is lower. That we don't have a lot of interaction with the general public on these agricultural lands.
Okay, thank you.
Members, anything additional?
Yeah, I have
Right,
now
Moko?
that, Brian, you can stay there, cause now you, after mentioning these little ditches that run through private property. You know, in Waimea, Hanapepe, right? There's a lot of ditches that run through private property because of the ditch system. Would that be covered under this?
Quite possibly, I believe in the new definition of agriculture infrastructure, it has irrigation as a comma, irrigation, comma, along with the other things, so it possibly could, and I think that's where our testimony is pointing out where even here on Oahu, as I mentioned, Waihole Ditch runs through quite a bit, even runs the Mililani Golf Course. So again, those could be considered, I think from the definition, possibly retention or detention ponds based on what the definition is. And so you know, there's quite a bit of agricultural water, different sizes, and again, Farm Bureau emphasizes it is a tragic loss of life, we understand that. And so, but also our properties aren't necessarily open to the public.
Right, I would think that this would be really bad for those homeowners that don't know that this is actually an effect. Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, not to him.
No.
Okay, sorry, to Ms. Schaefer's. If I can,
Oh,
can you? Thank you. Since I couldn't get a dollar amount, estimated how much each water infrastructure could be, can you tell us, as probably the only one in this room who has a family member, and the one who's named after Act 281, can you tell us the human cost of what happened to you?
It's been 20 years of hell. No amount of therapy will ever make me whole. But like a lot of people in the drowning prevention movement, I have found the strength to move forward so it doesn't happen for any other child. I volunteer extensively in the water safety community. I just came back from the Drowning Prevention Alliance National Conference where I spoke on 3 panels and represented Hawaii. A lot of other parents there. I see parents that have just lost people, and I see parents that lost people 40 years ago. And it's the same for all of us. It's a deep wound that you carry with you forever. But it's also the loss of productivity. After my daughter died, I couldn't work for 2 months. Luckily, I worked for a wonderful company that paid my salary, but not everybody's in that position. It cost me my marriage. I had to rebuild everything in my life. There was a point where I couldn't even find 2 shoes to put on and walk out the door. I couldn't get up in the morning. My daughter died. I know I'm here today because I never want another child in Hawaii to experience that loss. I don't make any money for the drowning prevention work I do, and it is extensive. The Hawaii Water Safety Plan that I wrote for the state of Hawaii on behalf of the Water Coalition, it won a national award this year. We're trying to turn the needle. Hawaii, the national drowning rate is ages 1 to 4 drowning in the nation is the leading cause of death, but in Hawaii, it's deep shame. In a state surrounded by water, we're 1 to 15, ages 1 to 15. And here's the thing, every single one of those drownings is preventable. It's preventable. That's the deep shame and horror of all of this. How much is a fence really compared to that?
So if I can ask you one more question. We're talking about looking at the intent of Act 281 right now. It's named after Charlotte, your daughter, Sharkey. Being that the act is referenced as Sharkey's Law, what do you think is your idea what the intent of that law was supposed to be?
To protect children. Whenever there's risk, wherever there's water that can be held for long enough periods of time, to manage that water.
Thank you.
Can I just say one more thing? we talk about the fact that farm ponds are far away, but that, and I referenced that statistic about autistic kids having a 160% greater drowning risk. I think if you'll think about it, we often see stories about the autistic kids gone missing, and they're attracted to water. They're often found miles from home by these ponds and these kinds of things. It's an attractive nuisance. We also have lots of gentleman farms in the state and agritourism options. So I mean, I think this idea that because it's far away, we don't need to protect it is misguided at best. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, seeing nothing, we're gonna move on to the next item on the agenda, HB 2361, HD1, relating to the Kaneohe Bay Regional Council.
First, we have the Department of Land and Natural Resources in support.
Department stands on certain testimony and support.
Thank you. And we also had one individual providing comments. That's all the testimony we received. Anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Okay, members, anything on this measure? If not, HB 2218, relating to the Department of Land and Natural Resources, which could mean anything. Okay, go ahead.
Department of Land and Natural Resources in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members, Alan Carpenter, Acting Administrator for the Division of State Parks. That is a scary time for us, but in this case, we stand on our written testimony in strong support.
We have testimony in support from Kua'aina Ulu Amo Kua on Zoom.
Aloha, my Chair Todd, Vice Chair Takenochi, and committee members. Mahalo, thank you so much for hearing this bill today about co-management, community co-management. I'm Olane Momi Fisher on behalf of Kua'aina Uloa Wamo, or KUA, and we've been planning and helping with the creation and support for this legislation over the past 7 months with a working group, including DLNR and under the leadership of the Hui Maka'ainana o Makana of Ha'ena. And we just stand on our testimony in strong support and ask you to please consider accepting our 2 friendly amendments. And I'm here for any questions as well. Mahalo nui.
Thank you. We have Ocean Legislative Task Force in support.
Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee, my name is Hannah Lisiak, and I'm testifying on behalf of the Hawaii Ocean Legislative Task Force in strong support of HB 2218. This measure promotes the authorization of DLNR to enter into community co-management agreements, and it also emphasizes the role that communities can play in the management of lands and waters through a structured partnership with the state. We also appreciate that this measure recognizes the long-standing Native Hawaiian and community stewardship traditions, which have helped sustain cultural and natural resources for generations. Our coalition represents over 150 individuals across over 20 organizations, and I'd also like to defer to my colleague online as well as her other coworkers in KUA and their recommendations on this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Hawaii Conservation Alliance Foundation in support on Zoom. Not present. On Zoom in support, we have Hui Maka'ainana o Makana in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Chipper Wickman here. I'm a founding director of the Hui Maka'ainana o Makana back in the 90s and continue to participate in their governance. I currently serve as the vice chair. We stand on our testimony that I put in, but I just also wanted to add, I put a lot of effort into trying to explain the requests from Water and Land about what happens when 2 competing nonprofits are seeking co-management. And so hopefully my testimony was clear that we've asked for a lot of information in the management plan that will help the Board of Land and Natural Resources make that decision. But in addition to that, I just want to say that we also view the community co-management agreements as kind of the end of a continuum. There are numerous ways nonprofits and community groups can interact with the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Our Hui Maka'ainana o Makana has participated in many different roles over the years, including the volunteer curatorship agreement, the revocable permit that we had for 5 years, and we are currently going to enter into concession agreement, and ultimately we hope to get to a community co-management agreement. So we really think that it will be a rare situation where you have two really qualified organizations competing to help steward the same area. Anyway, I stand on that. If you have any questions on my testimony, I'm available to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Nature Conservancy in support on Zoom.
Yes, aloha, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Scott Crawford, and I'm here on behalf of the Nature Conservancy, Hawaii and Palmyra, to offer testimony in support of the HB 2218, which authorizes DLNR to enter into community management agreements with qualified community organizations. We submitted written testimony that we'll stand on, so I don't want to repeat that, but I just wanted to add a little bit of a personal perspective, and mainly to highlight the state, through its various departments and agencies, already has many, as Mr. Wickman alluded to, already has many existing co-management relationships. And we see this bill as a natural next step to authorize the mechanism to formalize these relationships where appropriate, to define roles and responsibilities and provide an institutional commitment and continuity. And just as one example, I was involved with the development of the Kipuhulu community-based subsistence fishing area, which was officially designated just almost 2 years ago. And so the community of Kipuhulu and the Kipuhulu Ohana have a co-management relationship with DAR and DoCare, but what's missing is sort of like the formalization of that and an actual agreement that defines the roles and responsibilities. And there's many other examples of this, at Save Honolua Coalition. They just received some funding from Legacy Lands to acquire a parcel there by Honolua Bay. And they're very interested in working with state parks as well as DAR and DoCare through their Makai Watch program. In Ka'upulehu, the DAR has been working with many years for the Ka'upulehu community on the Tri-Weight initiative, and they're just about to go before the Board of Land and Natural Resources to request a public hearing on the rules package for that fisheries management plan. So there's just a lot of places where the state is already working actively with communities, where communities are active partners that are supporting, collaborating with the state and working to manage and bring that the local knowledge and the commitment of place into the management of their local places. And so we just really encourage you to support this this bill as a way to formalize those relationships, and also just like to offer my observation that this bill, as Ola mentioned, was crafted very carefully through many months of work through the working group with input from many different stakeholders from the community and from the department. So it's a really well thought through, well crafted bill. And on behalf of the Nature Conservancy, we hope that you support it. So, mahalo.
Thank you. We have Kirk Cottrell in support on Zoom.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Kurt Cottrell. And before I get going, I know what you're thinking, but yes, tea plants really do get this big up here in Kalihi-Uka, just to satisfy your curiosity. You have my written testimony, and I just want to amplify what Chipper from the Hui said, which I think is very important. Across the island chain on the Big Island, we have two organizations that are primed at the pump and getting ready to replicate the great success, which we're all proud of, that the Hui has done at Ha'ena. In Kiholo State Park Reserve, Hui Aloha Kiholo, like the Hui, has been on a curatorship agreement for quite a long time. And they've been subsisting primarily on grants. And there's a modest camping area at Kiholo. And among the other things that this legislation does in terms of clarifying relationship, I think it's very important to also enable our community co-collaborators revenue sharing in places where, in the case of state parks, a park can generate revenue, but we don't have any staff assigned to that park. So Hui Aloha Kiholo have been doing it just on their own, just love of Kiholo, and they're ready to go. They're ready to migrate, I think, off the curatorship. And right around the corner from them at Kealakekua Bay State Historical Park, Hoala Kealakekua Nui is rapidly trying to develop the same kind of capacity that the Hui has on Kauai, and have been looking at that model. And they once they kind of get more of their ducks in a row, they will also be one of the organizations that I think would benefit greatly from this new paradigm of how we co-manage. So it's not just government doing it all by itself, or nonprofits relying on grants or handouts, but they actually get a piece where it's appropriate and where it can happen of the income stream, which puts lineal descendants and our neighbors right back in areas that were theirs to begin with. And now they have a greater stake in helping the state manage. So this is just a great opportunity to really spread the wings of how we take better care of our natural and cultural resources. Mahalo.
Thank you. As everyone who indicated they would be joining us. Also, testimony and support from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Mayor Kawakami from the County of Kauai, County of Kauai Office of Economic Development, 11 organizations and 13 individuals, all in support. Is there anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Members, any questions?
Aloha.
Going.
Oh, hi.
E
Thank you. Please state your name
aloha.
and- Go ahead.
Aloha, my name is Moana Ching. I'm calling in on behalf of the Hawaii Conservation Alliance Foundation. Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of committee. E kalamai for my tardiness, and mahalo for letting me jump back in on the Zoom. We stand on our written testimony and also support the recommended amendments, friendly amendments, as Olan said, clarifications and additional context provided by Kuaina Uluawamo in their submitted testimony. And just additionally want to elevate, comparatively speaking, as I think Kurt was saying, this kind of model is one that, comparatively speaking, across the state park system, really works to provide that economic benefit in the local communities. And again, relative to other state parks with minimal costs to the state. There's revenue generation that happens right there and it stays right there. And so compared to other state parks where this opportunity is maybe not in place, these are good things that happen with minimal costs to the state. So we stand in a strong support. And mahalo for your consideration and for your time here today. Aloha.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom?
Members, any questions? Seeing none, we're going to move to the final item on our agenda, HB 1964, HD1 relating to the State Building Code Council.
First, we have the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development and Support.
Yes,
Thank you. We have Plumbers and Fitters, UUA Local 675 in support. Not present. We have Gregory Masakian with comments on Zoom.
Thank you. Aloha again, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Greg Masakian again, and I did not support or not support this. I do support it, the intent of it, and I do support the training. But what I would ask that you do, if you could amend this bill to make it stronger. My experience with DPP, which is quite extensive, as I serve as a director on my condo association board, and I have for a number of years, is that I'm very concerned with what's going on. I know that the legislature is also, because of the speed task force that was put into place. I participated in the speed task force opening day meeting, where various islands joined in, the planning and permitting departments, representatives from various islands. And in Oahu, the concern I share with you today is that the director of DPP for Honolulu, for our city and county, came into the room just to present and left the room. And I was there for about 5 hours plus for that session. And I was representing myself as a member of the community. And I gave testimony, I gave written and oral testimony that day. But the concern is that the director and many members of the staff need extensive training, and that no director of DPP should ever be appointed until that director has gone through extensive training, passed tests, whether it's online or through some kind of training that the legislature puts into place, and can support that that person is actually the most qualified for the position. Because if you don't understand how building codes work, building codes themselves, the process of inspection, the process that's required, it all falls apart. And in my opinion, as I conclude my testimony, DPP has fallen apart extensively, and the legislature needs to fix it. It's a completely broken system, so, or department, I should say. So with that, I ask that you please make this bill more than it actually is right now and focus on the leadership. Mahalo.
Thank you. That's everybody who indicated that they would be joining us. Also, testimony and support from 2 organizations and an individual, as well as 1 other individual providing comments. Is there anybody else in the room wishing to testify? Anybody on Zoom?
Okay, members, any questions on this measure? Okay.
Thanks for your comments. I wanted to focus back on House Draft 1. We blanked out the sum for training as far as state's contribution, but we left in an aggregate match from the counties. Curious if that aggregate match helps or hurts. And I'm asking that because at some point, counties gotta have some buy-in. We heard some testimony about a particular county kind of having its challenges. And so I'm trying to figure out for the committee if it's worth it to blank out that aggregate total so that we can continue conversations, or if keeping it at that total is gonna be sufficient for the counties to.
So when I contacted DPP to ask about the appropriation amount, they said that 25,000 would be appropriate to fund for the funding. So the 6K county match would actually help out.
Okay, and so just to clarify, 4 counties would contribute their 6,250, bringing 25, and then whatever we slot in. Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Anything additional? Okay, seeing nothing, I think we'll roll straight into decision making since we have all members present. We're gonna open up with HB 1602 HD1. As this is a position, well, the titles relating to agriculture, as this is something that can be accomplished through the budget, that's where we will prioritize things. So therefore, we will be deferring this measure. Okay, next bill is HB 1832. The plan for this one is amending it with a few brief technical amendments, nothing super substantive, and moving it forward as an HD2. This is relating to aquaculture. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, we can go to the vote.
Okay, members voting on HB 1832 HD1, recommendations to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Hartsfield.
Aye.
Representative Hussey.
Aye.
Representative Keokapuli Loy.
Aye.
Representative Kitagawa.
Aye.
Representative Kush.
Aye.
Representative Lee. Representative Miyake.
Aye.
Representative Morikawa.
Aye.
Representative Perusu.
Aye.
Representative Templo.
Aye.
Representative Yamashita.
Aye.
Representative Alcos.
Aye.
Representative Gideon.
Aye.
Representative Reyes-Soda. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is HB 1707 HD1, relating to agriculture. Our plan is to move this forward as is, unamended. Members, any questions? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 1707 HD1, recommendations to pass unamended, noting the presence of all members for this measure and the rest of this agenda unless otherwise noted. Are there any reservations? Any no votes? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Next measure is HB 2155 HD1, relating to agricultural statistics. Plan is to move it forward as an HD2, making some small technical amendments. So moving it forward with amendments. Members, any questions on this measure? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2155 HD1, recommendations to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Next item is HB 1831 HD1 relating to agricultural lands. Plan is to move this forward as is. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none.
Voting on HB 1831 HD1, recommendations to pass unamended. Any reservations? Any no votes? Recommendations adopted.
HB 1650 HD1 relating to environmental assessments. Our plan is to move this forward as is. Any questions? If not,
Voting on HB 1650 HD1, recommendations to pass unamended. Any reservations?
Reservations.
Reservations for Rep. Alcos. Anybody, any other reservations? Any no votes?
you have reservations, Rep. Person?
I'm sorry, Chair, just for clarification, I was under the impression that this would be deferred until Wednesday?
That's the next measure on the agenda. This is 1650.
Okay, reservations.
Hey, how's it?
For,
No.
oh,
The moment these guys retire.
reservations for Representative Caruso and Representative Alcos. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Recommendations adopted.
Okay, thank you. And as stated earlier, since this has a little bit of complexity behind it, we're going to be deferring decision making on HB 1652 HD1. The plan would be Wednesday after our 2 p.m. agenda. That would be February 25th. Next, we have HB 2361 HD1 relating to the Kaneohe Bay Regional Council. The plan is to move this forward as is. That's the chair's recommendation. Any questions or comments? Seeing none.
Voting on HB 2361 HD1, recommendations to pass unamended. Any reservations? Any no votes? Recommendations adopted.
For HB 2218 HD1, the plan would be to move this forward with some technical amendments, but also adding Kealakekua twice in the preamble. There are two sections where they just list a number of sites. This would just be adding Kealakekua as a site, which I think was initially an oversight. Any questions for the proposed HD2? Okay. Seeing none.
Voting on HB 2218 HD1, recommendations to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? Recommendations adopted.
And lastly, we have HB 1964 HD1 relating to the State Building Code Council. The plan would be to move this forward as an HD2, amending it with some clarifying and technical amendments. Any questions or comments on this measure? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 1964 HD1, recommendations to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you, we are adjourned.